She was like dying, like it was on camera and shit. Like, what the hell? What the hell? Anyway, all right. Going live on the YouTubes. Cool. All right, guys. So let's chat about the Gen Z loneliness epidemic. This is like probably the biggest subject right now. This is like critical. And we're gonna talk about how does Gen Z respond to Vegas stimulants. But before we do that, we're gonna do our simultaneous squeeze. So everybody take a big deep breath in, hold it, and then we're gonna squeeze and do a Valsalva squeeze. You know the drill. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And a little sip at the top. Squeeze it. And push out from your mouth for 5 seconds. And exhale. Yummy. Oh my goodness, that feels so good. Wow. That actually feels really good. How do you guys feel? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. Honestly, nothing quite like breathing. But it's not breatharianism, which is the context, I guess it's the idea that you can live on breath alone or something like that. It's crazy stuff. So anyway. All right, so let's get into it. Gen Z is lonely because of the lockdowns and because of their technology. So what's basically happening here is that I guess Gen Z basically just has lost, for the most part. I guess it's kind of cool to just, we can generalize. Gen Z, I mean, the gen probably just means general Z. So generalization of the Z people is it's waking, walking zombies. They're lonely. It's an epidemic. It's bad. How do they respond to Vegas stimulants? The answer to the question is, generally speaking, they don't. That's the problem. And there's something wrong with that. I think that there's a real big question about why is that the case? Oh, it looks like I have some sriracha sauce that I got at Trader Joe's on my face. Oh. Let me get that off. Oh, it was so good. So good. Like a sweet sriracha sauce from Trader Joe's. So good. Anyway, so yeah, Gen Z is not responding to Vegas stimulants as much as I think they need to, and that's a problem. We're looking at we're looking down the barrel of a loaded mega epidemic. So why is it that 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 15-year-olds, for the most part, respond a little bit to vagus nerve stimulation, but for the most part, they aren't? And you know what it could be? If Gen Z is as stressed out as we think they are, then it is actually possible that this stress is actually causing epigenetic changes, and that these epigenetic changes are causing their vagus nerve to not activate the way that it should, which is really crazy. This could be an absolute bad thing. I would say, from my experience dealing with younger and younger folks rather than people who are, 50 and up, 40, 50 and up, is that the younger you get on the spectrum, in some cases you don't see a response. But the good news is that there are there are responders to vagus stimulants. Young people do respond to vagus stimulation. Gen Z, the current young crop of kids who's on Snapchat and TikTok and whatever the heck, they're absolutely, hands down, some of them do respond to VNS, but those are, I think, more rare, most likely. I think that the more lonely you are, the more isolated you are from other people, the less likely even stimulating your vagus nerve will help. So if you talk to people, if you have human beings in your care, then vagus nerve stimulation can work. If you are completely isolated from human contact and you interact with people through a phone, that can cause an issue with the effectiveness of VNS. Just a fact. But I do have a crazy story. I do have a notable Gen Z story for you, and that is a 20-year-old subject. I got to put them in my care, not because they had any health issue. They just wanted to actually try vagus nerve stimulation with ultrasound. And I said, yeah, sure. Let's do it. Let's try it. So they stimulated their vagus nerve with a low intensity pulsed ultrasound. And I always keep physical ultrasound devices with me on my person. Pretty much if I'm traveling, I'll probably have an ultrasound on me. Just saying. And something else, so don't come up to me all quick and shit. Just so you know, I grew up in the country. Okay? My mom raised horses. Okay? So if you want to step to me quickly, you better be careful. So anyway, but I was had an ultrasound, and I guided them through the process of stimulating their vagus nerve. I've done this with quite a few of these Gen Z folks. Now, this was in 2020. There was a 20-year-old, I believe, and we did some VNS. They must have done about 3 minutes on the medium setting on this device, and almost immediately they got very tired, almost like they were under anesthesia. So it was like I was putting this Gen Z under anesthetic gases with stimulating their vagus nerve very quickly. Within 10 minutes. 10 minutes, this subject was having reports of just relaxation, tiredness, lethargy, yawning. They really wanted to go, oh, gosh. Ugh. Even if I say that word, I yawn. So they were reporting things like lethargy and that they just wanted to go to bed. And I said, you should do that. You should do that. Definitely a good sign that your vagus nerve is spiking in activity, and it will continue to do so for probably the next 8 hours from that one dose. So they went ahead and went to bed. And I stayed up and worked later, went to sleep eventually. Probably at about 2 in the morning. This stimulation must have happened around 9:30, 10 o'clock or so on a weeknight. And then at about what must have been 1:30 in the morning, I seem to remember checking a 1:45 a.m. on my phone. A little bit later, I hear this loud knocking on my door, and just more knocking to wake me up. And this same subject, this Gen Z person, was like, Sterling, I need to talk to you. Are you awake? Wake up. Sterling, hey, oh my God. And I'm not a deep sleeper, so I woke right up and I heard them and I said, ugh, what's going on? What's up? And they said, I need to tell you something. Oh my God. So I walked over to the door, opened the door. We stood in the hallway. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, oh my God, I just had the craziest dreams. Holy cow. And I was like, what happened? And they're like, oh, well, I had like, it was like so much that they just could not even get it out. Basically what happened was they had a ton of dreams, a ton of very highly vivid dreams. They lived in the span of only what could have fit into an hour or an hour and a half of dream, what allegedly amounted to like 20 lifetimes. 20 lifetimes of living a life and then dying and then being born and living a life and dying and being reborn and living a life and dying and being reborn and living a life and dying. Just like endlessly. Just this kid had his 20 lifetimes flash before his eyes. Boom, 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 boom. So this kid was like on the cusp of like potentially trauma, potentially being traumatized to whatever degree that was, or completely awakened. This is the kind of thing that, depending on the person that is undergoing this experience, is that this could have an indelible mark on their psyche for good. This is that kind of an experience. And this, mind you, was from one single session of vagus nerve stimulation to their vagus nerve some 4 hours prior. They had only slept for 3 hours or something total, about, give or take, high estimate. They fell asleep, and within 45 minutes, it had to have been, within 45 minutes of falling asleep, their brain went into a hyper vivid, super reality, alternate dimension of things happening. And I was able to observe this subject over the next week or so, and these were some profound changes that happened to them. Definitely eye-opening. They couldn't stop talking about it for days. So that was very interesting. There were some other things. I won't mention them just out of respect to the person. But, one thing that I have noticed with Gen Z or younger subjects, right? 20 years old is young. Those watching are like, yep, 20 years old is young. I know my audience a little bit better than the average, but yeah. So if you're 20, you are considered very young, according to most of my clients and most of my audience here. So the younger you are, if you're very, very young, and you're not used to this kind of extreme vividness, and also this is the kind of activation of the vagus nerve that your day-to-day are not experiencing, which is just bizarre. I mean, I think there are a lot of implications. There are a lot of lessons we can draw from that exact type of subjective story of what happened there. What does that mean when the vagus nerve is so highly activated that the subject starts to dream vivid dreams? What does that mean? Why is that happening? And also, where is it in the literature that increasing the vagus nerve increases dreamlike states? Like, Not that that is an observed, actually that is a clinically observed um, effect of increasing the vagus nerve through acetylcholine, but why? What is the connection? Where do we dream, generally speaking? Wouldn't it be in your pineal gland? Hmm? And wouldn't that be an increase in melatonin? So is there a connection between the vagus nerve and your pineal gland? Uh hello. Hello. Uh I'm going to share a little thing here in the chat, which is freaking crazy. Decalcifying pineal gland. I'm gonna try to find this. Where is it? I have a blog post somewhere about the pineal gland, actually. Oh my gosh. People say I'm the life of the party, cause. All right, I'll share it later, whatever. Not showing up here on my initial search, but yeah, basically, so yeah, I have been able to deliver VNS vagus stimulation to Gen Z, and there can be a correlation between that and the response to urinate themselves, which is also very interesting. So let me check something here real quick. So if you increase vagus nerve, you can urinate. Is that right? The integrative function of the vagus nerves Yeah, there's okay, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the vagus nerve absolutely regulates urination in bladder control. So what we find is that in the younger folks is that their vagus nerve will activate extremely fast, but they'll also urinate sometimes. Typically not often, but I have seen that in the teens, in the teenage years, is that can happen. So that's interesting. Vivid dreams, incontinence, life-changing episodes, very strange stuff. Very, very, very strange stuff can happen. So gosh, yeah, I know. It's weird, but anybody share in the chat, just curious. Anybody know Gen Z? Do you have a Gen Z in your circle, midst? Anybody? Share that in the chat. I'd love to see that. And I'd be curious to know, like, are they lonely on average? Because, like, my day-to-day, I'm not encountering Gen Z. Like, I don't... Charlene, you know many. Okay, got it. So, would you classify them as lonely on average? Or are we talking about, are they disconnected? I mean, I know that they're just on... They are... Okay, they're very lonely. That sucks. Oh, we should get a Gen Z support group. My God. Although I'm probably not making the whole vagus nerve stimulation thing appealing to them by mentioning the fact that in more than just a few cases, I've seen that when their vagus nerve is stimulated, that they tend to piss their pants during sleep. You thought it was due to gaming. It could Could be. Although I was a gamer when I was in my Gen Z equivalent ages. I'm a Gen something. I don't know what the fuck I am. I think I would be considered a millennial actually. But I was born in a very interesting time where I still used floppy disks. And when I was a kid, we still had rotary phones that we had to use. The So I was born in the 80s. I think I was born a little bit too soon to be considered even millennial. I think the technical term for the people in my age, we've actually collectively banded together. We're called centennials, which means that we were around during the turn of the century from the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. So I'm not really a millennial, but I had to use floppy disks. I had to use rotary phones. I had to use cassette tapes. I had a Sony Walkman. Literally had a Sony Walkman as a child with cassettes. So I'm a centennial, not a millennial. But thought it was due to gaming. Could be phone addiction. Could be social media. Could be a lot of stuff. I mean, I think that it's school maybe. I don't know. School, because I've seen videos of schools in America and there are kids like fighting each other, like brawling, and I guess there's no school shootings are common. Jeez, not fun. So what do you do in that situation? I guess, I don't know. Do I have solutions for it? I would say find some ways to, encourage them to stimulate their vagus nerve somehow. That would probably be it. The funny thing is that vaping is very common among Gen Z, right? Vaping, vape pens, nicotine. Guess, I've asked this question many times. What is the action of nicotine on the body? It is to stimulate the nicotinic receptor in your body. It's not called just the nicotinic receptor. It's called the nicotinic acetylcholinergic or acetylcholine receptor. Where is that neurotransmitter active and that receptor active in the greatest amount in your central nervous system and in your body? Your vagus nerve. Yes. If you said vagus nerve, that's probably a good answer. When I was in high school, my chemistry teacher was really good. And we also had I think she was also the physics teacher or something like that. But we were looking at the effects of subatomic particles and light, and that how sometimes an electron can be a particle or a wave. An electron can either interact with its environment as a particle, as a single unit, like a BB gun shooting, or as a wave, meaning it ripples out and it can be in multiple places at the same time, kind of quantum. So an electron or a photon, even a photon of light, can either be a particle or a wave. So that was the answer on so many of the questions in this class that she said, guys, if you come in and you are really tired, the best answer that you could give for any question, if you don't know the answer, is to say a particle or a wave as the answer. And so we started doing that. And it was actually really funny. So in this case, answering that what is being affected, if you don't know the answer, it's either going to be acetylcholine or the vagus nerve. Acetylcholine or the vagus nerve are almost always going to be, if we get further enough down the question tree, where it's going to end up. And then that opens up, Oh, wow. Okay, so I can see how nicotine, smoking actually activates the vagus nerve, which is when you're social, your vagus nerve is active. When you're antisocial and you're lonely, your vagus nerve still wants to be stimulated. So you reach for things that stimulate it. That's either porn, gaming, social media, nicotine, food, but not in the case of Gen Z. I guess it's just not like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my buddies in a drum circle for the next 5 hours or whatever. Although I think gaming is fine. I mean, I think, yeah, gaming can be addictive. I was just reflecting on that when I was a kid. Uh, there was a point in my freshman year, maybe high school. Wasn't really, just didn't like it. Just didn't like all my classes. My grades were slipping a little bit, and I was getting a little bit too into video games, admittedly. But it was with a couple of friends too. That was the thing. The good news was that these two friends were extremely smart. So I had really good friends in high school. One now is a chemist, and the other one is a banker. And they're very smart. So that was cool. I'm really glad that I got to hang out with them. We had some good times. Again, and my mom would hate that I was gaming, but it was still really fun. It was a good time. So, not a big deal, but okay, cool. So some Gen Z kids. Do any of them vape? Yeah, that's it, Charlene. You got it. Nail on the head. All night gaming is the thing. They're lacking sleep. Yes, and using Red Bull and Monster energy drinks to stay up. And who knows what else? God knows what else, right? Yeah. I was doing, yeah, weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, staying up till the wee hours of the morning, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes, which was insane, just playing video games. In the same house, we had those big computers, no laptops back then. So we had to bring our big ass computers over to each other's houses. And those TVs, the screens were not flat screen LCD like we have. They were those big, hefty motherfrickers. The ones made out of glass. Those CRT monitors. That was crazy. So, anyway, yeah, fun times. So Gen Z, are they lonely? Yes, we've established that. Can you stimulate their vagus nerve? Well, yeah, you can stimulate basically anybody's vagus nerve. What happens when you do it depends on how you do it. But if you do it with ultrasound, they have a range of effects. Generally speaking, sleeping after VNS gives them some pretty significant and profound dreams. I'm curious for Charlene. Have and it's totally okay if this is the case. You are the only user of the VNS that you have, I would imagine. You haven't yet let any family members try it, probably, I would imagine. But I don't know. I generally think it's safe enough to maybe, if somebody was like, okay, yeah. So generally speaking, if it was a family member that you could observe, right? Or whatever, gosh, I mean, shit, given your results, I could see some people around you being like, can I try that too? Like, can I try the same thing? So good. Yeah. So, yeah, as goes for anybody, generally the very first time is 2 minutes, 30 seconds green, always very low. In this case of the Gen Z friend that I had, we went over the time, 3 minutes, on orange So that was a double dose, basically, for their very first time. I'm not going to say that was irresponsible or anything like that. They're young, they're resilient, they're not going to have any bad reactions to it. It's just not going to be a reaction. Yeah, so it's a double dose in that case. I thought, I mean, the kid's 20. He's in really good shape, has no health issues to speak of. Maybe a little bit, probably some neuroticism, a little bit. What 20-year-old these days doesn't have some neurotic aspects, right? It's tough. I get it. It's tough. If I were 20 years old in this day and age, I would be like, what the fuck am I going to do? It would be pretty. I had it easy, man. Compared to a 20-year-old today, I had it very easy to get into all this stuff. So anyway, but yeah, have you had any if you have tried it on anybody, have you had anything notable? Any reports? I'll keep on sharing some of mine, but yeah, if you have any, please feel free to share. That'd be cool. That would be kind of interesting. Don't use names. No revealing anything. Just, right? You're like, oh yeah, I had somebody used it and they were in their 20s and something. Okay, you haven't tried on anyway. Yeah, good. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, if there were someone who wanted to try it, you might try it once, just and observe it, right? Just like once, just like you did before bed, few minutes, just a little bit, and see what happens. That's the thing, because it's only a one-time thing. I mean, if they're in their 20s, like, just have them not drink. I would say prepare them for it, right? If you're going to do mushrooms, you got to prepare a little bit. You don't just go, whatever, yeah. Let's hallucinate today. So I would have them not drink a lot of water that day and make sure they go to the bathroom beforehand and really, try to really, make it happen, make that oomph attempt, so that potentially that if they really hit the nerve really good, that they don't end up pissing themselves that night. Just for the record, I have never, ever had a case of anybody above the age of 30, even above the age of 30, never seen any modification in urination. Not whatsoever on that level. It's only been between 14 to 20 years old where I've seen that type of thing being reported. So that's that. Just since we're on the topic of Gen Z, I wouldn't go any younger than that, probably, unless there's a compelling medical use case for it. Has this been used on ages younger than that? I would have to defer to Bob for that. And Bob would say, yeah, believe in the age range of 5 years old for a compelling medical case. Very compelling medical case, with good results, parents monitoring, everything like that, under the care of professionals. Multiple cases with good results. And these were cases that were non-responsive to electrical stimulation from the Nemetschek device. And they were desperate. And so they said, what if we did ultrasound instead? And they approached me. I said, okay. Okay, as long as we do this really carefully. And there you go. But good results. But no peeing, nothing like that. Too young. It's really that 14 to 20 age range, I think, is that one. Yep. Okay, so anyway, thanks, Bob. Bye, Bob. Wait, what happened? I didn't hear anything that Bob just said. So, yeah, these 19 to 20-year-olds disconnected, they kind of are. It's weird. They're assaulted with um media from every direction. They can watch anything. They can do very little. I mean, it's weird. It's like they have freedom in all the wrong places. If they want to get into any vice, if they want to become a furry, if they want to have their gender transitioned, they can. It's like a weird, perverse form of freedom. You're free, but only to make life-altering choices. Just not good. Can they be free to get tutoring on electrical engineering? I mean, they are free, but that becomes so distant compared to what's like immediately right up against their face. So it's sad. It's definitely not great, but anyway, but yeah, in terms, obviously there's a problem. Solutions wise, maybe what could it be? I guess I'm not a big fan of proposing like mass adoption of a technology of any kind of thing. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say like, well, the government needs to just ship out VNS devices to every person in the country. I don't, that's just never going to happen. That will never happen, unfortunately. Government doesn't mass ship anything out unless it's a bill for your taxes. That's the only thing that the government will ever mass ship out. So it's never going to be VNS. If they could put rebates or something on it, if the government could fund it, if we could have it promoted more, if we weren't getting so much resistance from CNN. Although what Gen Z kid is watching CNN? It's not happening. It's just the parents, that doctors and all these people, this like institutional system just does not allow that penetration of vagus nerve stuff, which is crazy. So we just don't want that. Anyway, I'm not going to show off the brand. But it is probiotics. Ooh. Woo. Ooh-wee. So, anyway, I was at the electronics store, and I was like, hey, wifey, I've been thinking about something. Behind me right here, there's a big wall. This is actually pretty far away from me, still way further. And I'm like, it'd be kind of cool to put up there would be on one side my cool light show, but then on this side is to have a big like LCD TV, and I could play graphics on there. So people are like, oh, wow, look at all that stuff. So people would just kind of have the screen time to sit, but I don't know. She's like, oh, come on. She's like, you just want to blow money on some stupid shit that doesn't matter. I'm like, well, okay. Sure, I might have a tendency to do that, but at least it would be a business expense. Sweet 65 in. Oh, yeah, sweet 65 inch. Yeah, right. I think you were saying like good old this 65. 65 years of age. Cruising USA. Yeah, sweet 65 inch. Yeah, no, I think it would look dope. I think it would look cool. I could have a wireless feed going to it. That way I could do some graphics on it probably. I could do like the latest news. I could watch stuff with you guys. I mean, I actually do think it could be. I think that would see our numbers go up a lot, but it would be technically, technically we'd have to make some adjustments, I think, but I don't know, whatever. I'll think about it. If it happens, you'll see it, and it will be pretty cool. But oh, you know what would be really, really cool about that? I could probably put ClickUp on the back. Like I could show you guys like systems and do all that stuff as a demo. Although I like the way I do it now, which is, for coffee and ClickUp in the morning, is just a screen share. You at least can see everything right up front, but I don't know. Yeah, for my new Gen Zers, right? Welcome, kids. I'll play one of those maze running games or just like a loop of Tetris on the background so they have something to be distracted by. That's the thing. We are being mentally just screwed over. It sucks. Also, I hope everybody's having a really good long weekend. Yeah, let's go. Juneteenth. Woohoo! Yeah, Juneteenth in the house. Let's go. Juneteenth. But wait, it's tomorrow, isn't it? But I thought it was the 16th. I guess it's just Juneteenth, which means, okay, so there's no sometime in the teenths, the last day that slavery was still happening in the United States is the day. And I heard a good description of it, which is, are you for it? Are you against it? And really at the end of the day, it's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's an America thing. And I go, I'm sold. I like that. That's great. I like the way that feels. It's an America thing. It's Americans coming together to end slavery at the end of the day. And that's a representation of that's what Juneteenth is about. So I'm for it. I'm absolutely for Juneteenth. I think it's a great federal holiday. Gives my partner an extra day off. So that's awesome. And I'm still going to be showing up to work. I still work on Monday. I'm not a federal employee, so I'm still going to be working. But yeah, all good. So great. Well, yeah, honestly, I mean, I think we kind of nailed it today. I think we just hit it out of the park. Yeah. So I think we nailed it. Best live stream ever, if I'm being truly honest with you. I think we just fixed the Gen Z loneliness epidemic in this one stream. The answer is stimulate your vagus nerve. Duh. And don't drink a lot of water before you do it. If you're a Gen Z, keep the fluids down on the day that you stimulate your vagus nerve, because you might piss your pants. So I think we solved it. I think we cracked the code. Literally. I think the epidemic just stands no chance. It stands no chance. Not against us. Not against Team Vegas. Let's go. Team Ultrasound. Yes. Fantastic. Yeah. No, I know. It's kind of sad, but I know. I'm going to accept La La Land and just in my brain go, we did it. Hooray, we did it. I mean, look, we showed up, right? Systems-wise, we showed up for what could be solving major worldwide issues. Good meeting. Good team powwow, Charlene. Okay? And I think we're well on our way. This is clearly a topic of interest over on YouTube. There's a guy on YouTube who I follow who he's an anesthesiologist, Dr. Cave. He's really funny. I really like him. I really was inspired by he goes live, not every day, but he goes live from an operating room in San Francisco. Like he's got the hat on and he's got needles and all kinds of machines and stuff. He's very entertaining. Definitely could learn a lesson from him. But he did a video 3 weeks ago about the Gen Z loneliness epidemic under anesthesiologist. What do you see when a kid is under anesthesia? and it got 1.3 million views. I'm like, he was doing 20,000 views a video, and then that one in particular got a ton of views, and I was like, money train, baby. It's that Gen Z dollar, although they don't have any money for the most part. So, ooh, yeah, that we're gonna tap into that Gen Z loneliness dollar, I guess. So anyway, just kidding. I don't know what I'm saying. But we did it. Let's celebrate that. Yes. Yes. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, hey everybody, thanks so much for watching. We're going to wrap it up here on YouTube stream. I'll see you guys later.